Hello, you beautiful people, and welcome to Combat 101, in which we talk you through all the wonderful ways you can manipulate the fight phase. Today, it is the goal of the mighty Gargoyle unit to try and
Yes.
knock down some primary and stop a tank, a huge tank, from falling back and doing anything. How is that even possible? How on earth can mere gargoyles lock something down as mighty as a tank? Well, Ed is here to show you how to do it. Take it away, good sir.
Okay then. So gargoyles, we know them, we love them. They are 12-inch move. They're OC2. They can be annoying as hell for your opponent because they can move after shooting and all that good stuff. However, one of the applications of people to sort of forget about gargoyles is the application of charging and wrapping things. So effectively, what we're going to do is we're going to charge these gargoyles into that tank and make it so it can't fall back, so that we have that primary lockdown for at least a turn or two until they can try and get some combat over to dig it out, or something along those lines. So first of all, we're going to show how this works. So we're going to basically move 12 inches up over here, and then we're going to basically put some over here, put some over here, and effectively what we're trying to do here is wrap this tank and arc these guys round. So basically means from the front of this tank going to the back, it only has like a 10-inch move, so it can't finish a normal move, so it can't attempt to do a fallback move, is the goal of this charge. This approach is like combat jank that you do want to like talk with your opponent through the entire time to make sure it's done correctly, because you want to make sure that everyone's happy with what's happening, because this is one that you do have to do correctly to make sure it works. But as again, you start to follow the usual rules where you have to have to base. But when it's set up like this, when it's next to a wall, you don't have to go into here and base through there, because obviously that's just engagement. So you don't have to put one in there if you have to base. You have to basically base around the hull of the tank instead. So we'll carry on.
I think it's a really important point that you need to be communicating with your opponent, because especially if you're playing someone who doesn't really necessarily know what's going on, they can suddenly be like, "Wait, what? What do you mean I can't do that?" But if you're communicating, explaining the steps as you kind of go through it, and then they don't really have anything to fall back on, do they? Really?
Exactly. I think the idea of this is to make sure that your opponent knows what you're going to be doing the entire time. So we've just done our move here, and then we're going to do our charge. Now, for the example here, I'm going to show you what it looks like with a 9-inch charge. So the 9-inch charge basically means we have to wrap basically base all the way around here. However, you're going to be planning your opponent's movement phase whilst you're doing this charge move. So if you have a look at the back of this impulsor, it only has a 10-inch move, or 12-inch move. But anyway, we'll plan for 12. And then if he moves back 12 there, and if you've got a dude here, it can't create do a fallback move. If you measure from the front of this guy and move 12 back, you need to make sure after you have finished your charge, they can't end there. Which, because you've got dudes here, which are 5.8 away, you can end 5.7 away, which is awkward to show because of the way the hull does it. But effectively, you could end up in an arc around here. And then you could, and then from the 12-inch from the back here, going back, you actually wouldn't be able to do a fallback move there anyway, because the actual hull is too long. So the 9-inch charge, first of all, we have to make sure we base everywhere. Now, we want to try and block ourselves off as much as we can in this situation. So we're basically going to be leaving an inch gap between each of the gargoyles. Okay, that's something you have to bear in mind and make sure you remember to do. So if you leave an inch gap between each of the gargoyles, it means that when you try and base other gargoyles in, you won't be able to fit them in that gap, effectively creating a situation where you can only base with where you only have to base with effectively like 2/3 of the models rather than all of them. And then we carry on doing our movements. Now we've based everyone that has to. Now we go with our movement. So this guy, as mentioned, can arc round and then closer, which will be about there. And then this guy is going to do the very similar thing. And this guy's going to do a very similar thing as well. Move a bit closer. This guy's going to move a bit closer. And effectively, you're creating this area around the impulsor. Sorry, this guy actually meant to move all the way around here. So stop him from falling back there. And then this guy can move into this gap. And effectively, you're trying to create an area where the impulsor can't fall back. So if you move 12 there, it can't get out because it's gargoyles. If it moves 12 back, it ends up off the board. If you move from the back of the impulsor and move 12 forward, it's going to end up with an inch of other gargoyles. And obviously, it can't go this way because there is a wall. So effectively, you can use the space between your gargoyles quite heavily here. Like if when you set them up, you want to be moving them over here so you can arc and then move again. So that's why when you saw me start the move, I moved the gargoyles straight forward here, and the one on the far left, I moved directly to, like left and forward here, so that when they roll the charge, they could wrap. So where that impulsor is now, it might throw a couple of attacks, it might kill one or two gargoyles, but it won't make a massive difference because you just kill the ones that are based. Because the ones that are based doesn't matter for the wrapping situation as long as you have the exterior profile, it can't fall back. And that's it, guys. That's it. And another thing you can do is plan the gaps between board edges. So if you started off with this guy over here, so it's further away, you could end him up here effectively, and another one here, and effectively do this. So it effectively means that no matter what they do, even if they like have a 14-inch move or whatever, they still have to end up off the board because you still end up with an inch of the gargoyles. So you're basically planning out your wrap and your spread out based off of the closest models basing first, and everyone else wants to move away. And you can normally predict how many models you're going to have to base from like this impulsor size. As you can see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to base everywhere and create those inch gaps so we don't have to base anymore, which means you have 13 gargoyles to play with and like create a profile around the around the impulsor to stop it from falling back. The applications of this now is if it's just a standard transport, it's sat there, it's not doing anything, it can't fall back, and you've got the primary, and that unit of gargoyles can't be shot, and the only way that they're really going to dig that out is charging or combat, which it's can sometimes be hard to get to sometimes. And this application, if they undercommit on one side and you manage to wrap a transport with gargoyles, suddenly you've just got this area that they can't do anything about it, and you're sat there scoring points. And that's the application of wrapping a tank with a charge. Because you're not there to kill a transport, because like 7 gargoyles, you're not going to kill them, but that means that they're going to sit there for the rest of the game unless your opponent does something. It almost it triggers your opponent to do something about it. And yeah, that's it, guys.
Lovely. As if gargoyles weren't obnoxious enough, they can do this too as well. Happy for everyone. But I think this is also a lesson on try not to, in terms of just like if you are using tanks, be careful. Otherwise,
Yes.
your opponent will spring these little treats on you. So there you are, guys. Give it a go. Get out on the table. See if you can go and wrap and trap a transport and let us know if you are successful. Bye for now.
There, guys.